everyone, it is Asia, and thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Last week, I shared with you how one costly, expensive, poor financial decision on my part literally destroyed my confidence in all of my decision making. So today, I thought it would be a very appropriate video to talk about the 10 things that you need to do to make sure money doesn't ruin your life. A lot of us associate money with literally being the best thing that you could ever have, because obviously you need money to survive and you need money to do really cool things. But also I think there's kind of like a dark side to money that can really mentally screw with your mind. So I want to talk about that and talk about the ways that you can avoid kind of being sucked into the downward spiral that money could sometimes, I guess, pull you into. Yeah, wow, this intro turned really dark, didn't it? I didn't mean it to go this way, but here are the 10 things you need to do in order to make sure money doesn't ruin your life. The first thing I think you need to do is decide what is enough. If you've seen my debt-free journey, you know I talk a lot about what is your why. Why is it so important for you to commit so much time and energy to paying off debt? Similarly, defining your enough number is key in making sure that you can afford and achieve the life that you want without it ruining your life. What is that magical number that's going to keep you happy, that's realistic enough for you to reach and help you achieve all your goals, but not too much to where you always feel like you're running behind? Obviously, this is not something that you can just make up on the spot. I think you really need to figure out, your ideal life and what that looks like, because everyone's enough number is going to be different. Just a few years ago, my enough number was just to make enough money to pay off my student loans. That is all I wanted, and I achieved that. So actually now, I actually haven't thought of my enough number since that happened. So now that it's been a few years that I've been debt-free and I've been like living life without any student loan debt and how awesome that feels, and I've been traveling, now I need to kind of refigure out what my enough number is. So look at your life, look at your goals, look at where you want to be, and figure out a nice sweet spot of a number that will help push you towards achieving that. The second thing you need to do is to detach your self-worth from your net worth. I've actually had to unfollow a lot of financial pages because every time I see one of those damn graphs saying, if you're at 20, 30, 40, this is how much you need to have saved or have invested or have to be worth. Every time I would see one of those charts, I would just be filled with so much anxiety, which I know that those posts are trying to be helpful, but they are not. In the society that we live in currently, especially here in the US, it's very hard to detach yourself from what your net worth is. So just remember that your value is not about income, savings, or spending habits. It's about who you are as a person, how you treat other people, and how you build, or at least that's what I think, how you build people around you in your community. The third thing you need to know to make sure money doesn't ruin your life is realize that lifestyle creep is real, y'all. I thought about this the other day, thinking about how much lifestyle creep has actually affected me since becoming debt-free. Because at surface level, my lifestyle hasn't really changed, but it is actually the small things. The Uber Blacks versus the regular Ubers. The faster delivery fees when you order food versus the normal fees. Paying more to skip lines. Ordering in more because you just are too lazy to cook. These are all things that I used to consider luxuries that I have somehow convinced myself is now a necessity, and they're not. This is emotional inflation. Talk about inflation. The nicer your life gets, the more you expect. debt. So how can you enjoy the upgrades that come along with making more money, getting out of debt, becoming more financially stable without turning those into expectations? Number 4 is something that we talked about in the last video, but it is to unpack your financial baggage. I know millennials love a therapist, okay, but there might come a point where it's actually time to therapize, is that a word? Your financial trauma. My first financial mistake of ignoring all of my debts was definitely trauma from my childhood. And my second poor financial decision was actually buying a house. And like I mentioned in the last video, that decision actually sent me to therapy, because that decision, even though I could financially afford it, was just not the right decision had I kind of stepped back from all the outside noise telling me that that's the next step, you know, in my financial journey is to buy a house. And that caused me so much trauma that it made me second guess not only every financial decision that I made after that, but every decision in general. Even if it came to buying something like a t-shirt, I had, I guess, paralyzed decision fear. I don't know if that is something or a word, but that's how I felt. Like I could just never make the right decision on anything. I feel like after therapy or, you know, going through it, I recognize that. And I'm now able to, or at least trying to pull myself out of that. Anyways, I know that I am not the only one with financial baggage, and maybe it doesn't necessarily cause you complete distress, but maybe eventually it is something that you should talk to someone about. The 5th thing you need to do in order to make sure money doesn't completely ruin your life is to have a fully funded emergency fund. This is your money plan for the worst case scenario. I am currently in that worst case scenario, more on that in another probably emergency fund video, but I actually feel okay because I have a fully funded emergency fund that has prepared me for this moment. Even if you are in debt, having a small emergency fund of just a few $1,000s will keep you moving and grooving. If your AC breaks or your car breaks down during your financial journey, it's not going to completely stop you from continuing to achieve your financial goals because you have that backup. Number 6 is to avoid debt that buys you status. Buying a designer bag to possibly keep up with people within your group might seem like a really cool, fun idea, but trying to impress people who are only impressed by fancy things is impossible because they will always continue to raise the bar on you. Trust me, I see it a lot in LA. If you can afford something nice without going into debt, if you can afford something because you intentionally saved for it, yes, please do splurge on yourself. But if you're already struggling financially, buying things with the mindset that it'll somehow elevate your status will keep you miserable. Number 7 is to automate your savings and investing. If it's not automated, it's optional. Automating savings and investing is literally the easiest thing that you could do. Every bank makes it possible for you to do financial automation. Go through your budget, see how much money monthly you can contribute to financial goals, and set up that auto pay. Also, remember to set up your auto pays for any debts that you might have as well. At the end of the month, after all the auto debits are taken out, if you have more money to put towards one of your financial goals, then that's just a bonus. But know that because you set up those automations, whether you have money at the end of the month or not to contribute more, you've already done what you've set out to do. Number 8 is to not let guilt guide your wallet. My Asian people, I am saying this dead ass in the camera. You do not owe anyone financial access to you. I know someone who has sacrificed so much of their money to support their family, and they are so incredibly ungrateful for it. And they did it under the feeling of obligation. And I am happy for this person to say that they have finally pulled the plug because there was no sense of gratitude, no sense of how much this person sacrificed for her family. And now I feel like their life is so much calmer, less stressful, and easier, not only by no longer having to support people who don't appreciate it, but also ultimately removing people out of their lives because they were being taken advantage of. Now, of course, if you have the means to help people and you want to help people and it doesn't in any way hurt you or make you sacrifice things that you cannot financially sacrifice, then please do. But if you have financial goals that you are fighting to achieve, you are the priority for your own money. The ninth thing you have to learn how to do in order to make sure money doesn't ruin your life is to learn how to say, I can't afford it right now, without feeling embarrassed. You know how there are yes people that always say yes to things no matter what? I am very much a no person. No, I don't want to go out. No, I don't like that person. No, I don't want to be in a place where I don't want to be in. No, I would just rather stay home with my dogs. No, I can't afford it right now. I am honestly very easy at it. Mostly because I am a hermit. I like staying home. I like being in my own surroundings. And it takes a lot of energy for me to leave my house. So if I feel like whatever I'm about to do is not worth my time, if I feel like whatever I'm about to do is not worth me spending the money, I will easily say no. So how are you at saying no? Also, by the way, you don't owe anyone an explanation as to your reason why you're saying no. No is a complete sentence. So I can easily say, no, I can't afford it. But if you just want to say no, then that's all you have to say. And finally, the 10th thing that you need to do in order to make sure money doesn't ruin your life is to spend it on things that you love and cut on things that you don't. A few years ago, I posted a video about the 5 different budgeting techniques. And one of them is called value-based spending. And basically, you go through your budget categories and kind of reorganize them as to importance. What do you want to spend your money on? For me, I don't mind spending money on rent because, like I said, I love being home. I am a hermit. I would prefer not to leave my house. Versus, I don't necessarily need to spend a lot of money on a car because I don't care what I look like in what I drive, you know? So focus on spending money on the things that you value the most and spend less on the things that you value less. Money is a tool, so remember to spend it wisely. And those are my 10 things that you need to learn how to do in order to make sure money doesn't completely ruin and shatter your life. You know, I hope you kind of understood the purpose of this video because never even just a few years ago would I have posted something like this, but recently with what I have experienced financially, I feel like it is a good reminder that money can obviously be a blessing, but it could also be a curse as well. And just these are just ways to really stay grounded. I'm Asia, this is Mr. Lukey. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any other things to add or anything else you want to say, please let us know in the description box, and I will see you next week.